I believe it's a huge doorway to future research in biodynamics. The biodynamic 501 is great, but there's a lot more that could be done. Rather than just silica, there's silicates. And what I learned over time was that the silicates are part of a process known as metallic ion transfer. As we go along in these courses, I'll be explaining in much more detail the idea behind metallic ion transfer. And the reason is that there is a deep resonance between the organic metallic ion transfer patterns in the mineral body, in the plant body, and in the animal body. The same electrolytes guide the same processes in all of those areas. That's what I found. It took me 20 years to find it out, but I think it goes way beyond just grinding up silica. There's a lot more that can be done. So I'd like to say that the work we're going to do with Plant and Gen is a creation of functional morphological analogs. They're not based on the forms or signatures of things, but on the becomings of things, on the function, and I could even say the molecular ionic transform functionality of things. This is the second in a series of videos on the idea of gems and medicinal plants, what they have to do with each other, based on the harmony of the spheres. And in the first one, we looked at the old idea of the geometry of the spheres, and we saw that it was possible to generate something called a tetrahedron. These are the tetrahedrons that are linked end to end, and the bases are alternating in right and left. And what that does, it creates kind of like tunnels in the structure of the silicate. You can see the pink lines, and those tunnels are molecular tunnels that give rise to the form of crystals that are in the form of columns. So the tetrahedrons, depending upon how they're arranged in fives or in end-to-end or, give rise to the different forms of silicates. Here was something like the sphere of the sun and the sphere of the moon. And the idea was that the movements of the planets and their spheres of influence changed conditions on the Earth so that the forms of minerals and plants and animals was a result of the changing of the harmonies. This was the harmony of the spheres. And as the full moon comes out of full and goes to the third quarter, it's bucking against the solar wind in the coma of the magnetotail and creates disturbances. And those little vortices in the lee of the Earth, that's aurora borealis. That's the aurora. It gets electrically charged magnetic tail because the solar wind with the metal ionic potentials gets disturbed by the action of the moon sphere moving through it. You could say, well, what the heck's the moon have to do with anything? It's way out there. I don't see nothing. But this is the harmony of the spheres of influence of the planets. And so if you have a particular place on Earth where there has been a particular influence over time, and you have magma in the Earth that is generating ion transfer through metallic transformation of molecular structures in the magma, and that particular space in the Earth has been held there because of particular patterns or configurations of planets at a given time, then you get a particular place where gems form in a particular way. The way a tourmaline forms is completely different than the way an amethyst forms. And if you want to look at them in the way in which they have becomings, you will see that the geometry of the becomings of the gem can be seen as an analog of the way in which the molecular structure of plants operates with the same electrolytes after the forming of an anther in a flower.